All right, Haz. How'd you find me?
Your mum's hardly off grid. How's Barn? Still a little weirdo?
Yep.
Your dad about and all?
Yeah. He just split up with his bird, so he's in a right mood.
Be good to catch up with him.
Why'd you really come?
I can't say Shireen's name without mum or dad bursting into tears. I need to speak to someone who knows her like I do.
Mum? I got your text. Why's the bar closed?
For a private event. Oh, we're sad. Lovely to see you.
All right, Mrs. Mitchell. What's this?
Well, today's a difficult day and I felt important to mark it.
Thanks, Mum.
Is Mr. Mitchell here? I'd like to give him my regards as well.
Oh, yeah, he's on his way. He's just got a bit of business. Hey, will you give me a hand, babe? What's he doing here?
Oh, relax, he's sweet. We've been catching up. It's fine. Right, lightweight. There you are. Hold that.
Bless your mum for doing this.
Your parents can't be happy that you're here.
Mum.
That's all right. Truth is, I ain't told them. The last few years destroyed them. Dad, he lost his business. And Mum, she don't even get out of bed no more. I spent all my time looking for Shireen now.
Mate, let me help. Whatever you need.
Thanks, Az. But to be honest, I didn't come here for you. I came here for him.
Assad, it's good to see you.
Where is she?
What's going on?
Go on, tell him. Tell your son how you had his girlfriend murdered. Tell me what you did to her. I just want to bring my little sister home. These last 4 years, everything I've done, everyone I've spoken to, it points to you. Tell me where she is.
I don't know nothing. And I'm sorry.
I thought you said we was never gonna meet again.
Yeah, well, change of plan.
It's not that I ain't happy to see you. You're looking good with a few miles on the clock.
Oh, shut up, Benji. Look, that job you did for me a few years back. Someone's running their mouth. They've got it backwards, but it's all kicking off again. I need to know where she is.
I don't know what you're talking about. Paradise Park. Industrial estate just outside of Dartford. It's been derelict for years, don't worry. Ain't nobody gonna dig up your little secret there.
I hope so. For your sake, as well as mine. I am just getting my family back on track. They can never know I killed that girl, or I'll lose them forever.